Okay. Where did, oh, let me get this person. I'm going to modify the agenda slightly because we've had a number of requests to speak under public comment, but that we didn't have a public comment agenda item. But because I understand people have traveled here to speak, I'm going to allow them to speak anyway. I'm going to modify the agenda to allow them to speak, but I'm going to only allow for 2 minutes rather than 3 minutes. And I think what I'm going to do is allow the public comments now, and then we will have Ben close the meeting with his 180-day comments. So the first person who had asked earlier to speak was Sarah Therese. Are you here? Therese. And then I'll go to the other 14 members.
Yes, my name is Sarah Thies. You've heard from me before. I'm a CalPERS retiree, a member of Fossil Free California. And as you know, we've been highlighting the climate-related financial risks of fossil fuels for a while. So I'm just taking 2 minutes to tell you about some things that I've become aware of, some articles since the last meeting, and I have forwarded these to the board at email address so that it can be distributed to you all. The first article is from, let's see, sorry, the first article is from, Bloomberg, and it's an article that Legal & General, which is a large fund manager in England and one of Exxon's top 20 shareholders, is divesting from Exxon. It's Legal & General's 7th largest holding, and it's doing it because Exxon hasn't met even the basic bottom line requirements that Legal & General is requesting companies to make in terms of climate change. And interestingly enough, their head of sustainability stated that it's to hold Exxon accountable for something that's really material for their future. People in the streets who have their own pension that's going to mature in 30 years' time don't get a chance to talk to Exxon themselves. And basically, also they're doing it because the funds will suffer very little as a result of the divestments. The difference between what the fund would return without divesting and what they will return otherwise is what she called a tracking error. So that's just one thing that's starting to happen in terms of a sign of the times. The second article is from oilprice.com, and it pointed out that the S&P Energy Index is down more than 15% in the past year, a time when the broader S&P 500 gained 15.5%. Interestingly, BP's head of strategy admitted that some of its reserves won't see the light of day, which, you know, in the context of today is a rather astonishing acknowledgement. And basically, the long-term outlook for the broader oil and gas industry is increasingly uncertain.
Ms. Tish, your time is up.
Oh,
okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, now you've asked that you speak in this order, so I'm going to call all of your names, and if you just line up to approach the mic when in your turn, because you've asked to speak in this manner, so I'm just going to call all the names, and if you will line up and be prepared to speak. Ms. Egon, Mrs. Sims, Ms. Fillings, Ms. Filling, Ms. Newman, Mr. Lee, Mrs. Rodriguez, Mr. Santorn, Ms. Santorn, Ms. Strom, I think it's Mr. Sarell, Mr. Lerner, Ms. Fitz, Ms. Holly, Ms. Barrett, and now this one I have Mr. Chain Tuckwindy and Ms. Golden. So each of you will have 2 minutes, and as I said, that we didn't have a place for public comment, but we are allowing you to speak for 2 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Egan. I'm the Political Action and Legislative Chair for the California Faculty Association, which is the labor union that represents 29,000 faculty in the CSU system. I'm also a professor of philosophy and public affairs and administration at Cal State East Bay. I'm here today on behalf of our members, who are also CalPERS members, to request that CalPERS release their holdings in the private prison corporations Core Civic and Geo Group. These corporations have established concentration camps on the southern border of the United States, including in California. I teach ethics, and in my introductory ethics class, I often use Ursula Le Guin's short story, The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. If you're not familiar with the story, I'll give you a quick synopsis. Omelas is a utopian society with an abundance of resources and no social problems or violence. Everyone in Omelas is happy, except for the fact that that happiness and abundance somehow magically depends on the suffering of one child, who is held in an underground prison in squalid conditions. The people of Omelas know this and accept this price that must be paid, but not by them, for the sake of the many, except for the ones who walk away and leave the society. As you might imagine, this short story creates a lot of really great conversation in class, and it is the fundamental ethical impulse of the vast majority of my students that there is no amount of happiness that is worth the suffering of even one child. And looking at CalPERS investments in these private prison corporations, there is even less justification. Most of my students would say that CalPERS members' happiness in the form of a healthy pension fund and great returns is unacceptable, even if it requires the suffering of children. But our happiness doesn't rely on these investments at all. There is actually no happiness generated for anyone. Multiple children and families are suffering more every day, and we're stuck with a risky investment in an industry that is rightfully under political and financial attack for its human rights abuses.
Ma'am, your time is up.
Okay, thank you. We need to walk away from these investments, and we demand action on the part of the board.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Irma Jean Sims. I'm a professor in education at Sonoma State University, where I also serve as the chapter president of the California Faculty Association. My colleague, Dr. Egan, mentioned CFA represents the thousands of faculty in the Cal State University system. I've been a CalPERS member for 17 years, and that's what brings me here today. As a CalPERS member, I find it reprehensible that the pension I will rely on in my retirement is currently invested in and funding human rights abuses of migrant families. But it doesn't have to be that way. CalPERS and this board can be on the right side of history. CalPERS, like other pension funds, retirement funds, and banks, part ways with Core, Civic, and Geo Group and the corrupt system that cages families and children seeking asylum in our country. This is a system that, if you have been following the news, is talking about reopening prison camps that were used to incarcerate Japanese Americans during World War II. This is a system that terrorizes children and families with ICE raids. This is not okay. This is not business as usual, and it shouldn't be business we're connected with. That's why I, along with my colleagues, are calling on you to do the right thing. We've passed a resolution calling for CalPERS to end its ties with these companies, and we plan to continue to meet with you, talking with you, and demanding that you take action. We, as educators, we lead by example. Just as it is our duty to prepare students to be future teachers, researchers, scientists, engineers, and doctors of California, it's also our duty to show them that when these injustices occur,
time is up.
To stand up and correct them. We live by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s teaching, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Stephen Filling. I'm a professor of accounting at California State Stanislaus. I've been a CalPERS member for 25 years. As you heard from my colleagues during your last meeting, other retirement and pension funds have ended their investments in private prison companies. The New York City Pension Fund terminated its holdings and cited specifically their moral duty to do so. Here in California, AB 32 would prohibit the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation from entering into or renewing contracts with private for-profit prisons. Speaking as an accountant, I'll note that this is not an indication of long-term viability. JP Morgan Chase, SunTrust Bank, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo have stopped providing loans to private prison companies. Some banks are declining to do any business with them. Again, hardly evidence of sustainability. Simply put, the industry is headed for decline, and rightly so. While the board's standard response to calls to end investment in CoreCivic and GEO has been fiduciary duty, moving away from investment in these firms is consistent with your fiduciary duty given the level of downside risk such investments pose. Not only will rates of return on those investments fall, there is significant business risk associated with the growing trend of statutory prohibitions on doing business with that industry. A significant risk that those companies' market valuations will drop sharply, as indeed CoreCivic has demonstrated. Long-term investors such as CalPERS would be wise to dispose of those investments before that risk becomes reality. And what's more, that fiduciary duty is also to focus on the better-offness of CalPERS members, not just the rate of return. We expect our retirement custodian to comply with the law. We also expect our retirement custodian to go beyond the letter of the law and to acknowledge and act on their moral responsibilities. We, CalPERS members, are not better off with our retirement funds being invested in GEO and CoreCivic. Take action and do the right thing.
Sir, your time is up.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Elaine Newman. I am a professor of mathematics and statistics at Sonoma State University. I have been a CalPERS member for 21 years. I am here in support of my colleagues and my union's position and urge CalPERS to end its holdings in GEO Group and CoreCivic.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Janet Rodriguez with the California Faculty Association, here in support of the position to walk away from CoreCivic and GEO Group. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Danby Lee, and I am here to support the CFA position.
Hi, my name is Dr. Jessica Santone. I'm Assistant Professor of Art at Cal State East Bay, and I'm also in favor of supporting this position to end ties with CoreCivic and GEO Group.
Hi there, my name is Dr. Ann Strom. I'm Department Chair of Sociology at California State University Stanislaus. I've been a member of CalPERS now for 13 years, and when you invest in private prisons, you are taking our tax dollars, which is around $65,000 per year per prisoner, away from education, roads, public safety, etc., giving it to private corporations who make billions of dollars and then who hand you, CalPERS, a few pennies on the dollars to put into our retirement accounts. What this equates to, in my view, is stealing billions of dollars from public commons, which is us, so that we can have a few $1 million in our retirement plans. That doesn't sound like a wise investment strategy, and it certainly doesn't represent fiduciary responsibility to me. Please end investment in private prisons. Thank you.
I'm John Sorrell. I'm a retired faculty member at CSU Stanislaus. I've been in the CalPERS system for 33 years, and I feel that to maintain a relationship with GEO and CoreCivic is to encourage people who are incentivized to create misery for profit, and I hope that we will discontinue that relationship.
My name's Eric Lerner. I'm here in solidarity with my colleagues from the Cal State system, and I urge you to end investments in GEO Group and CoreCivic. Thank you.
My name is Nisha Fritz. I'm with the California Faculty Association. I stand in strong solidarity with my faculty colleagues for this board to move away from the private prisons. Thank you.
My name is Eileen Barrett, and I am a retired faculty member from Cal State East Bay. I have been in the PERS system for 32 years, and I really hope that you will move away from funding core civic and geo group. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Janet Howley, and I've been in CalPERS for 32 years. I'm a retiree with the City of Oakland, and I'm here to urge you, please, to stop investing in core, civic, and the GEO group. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sriram Chintakrindi, and I'm a faculty member in the Department of Criminal Justice at CSU Stanislaus, and I support the California Faculty Association's position to end investment holdings in core civic and geo group, given their human rights abuses and recent treatment of migrant children at facilities along the border. I encourage all of you to support that position as well. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to try to speed through this. My name is Emily Claire Goldman, founder and director of Educators for Migrant Justice, as many of you know, here to call for CalPERS to stop investing in core civic and geo group and to use your leverage to engage with General Dynamics and United Rentals to push them to stop being complicit in the human rights abuse of migrant children and their families. So you are supposed to be looking at whether it's in strong compliance with the law. The numerous class action lawsuits against both these companies suggest that they are not in strong compliance with the law or compliance whatsoever. Both Core Civic and Geo Group have negative working capital right now, massive debt. Core Civic's debt is $1.8 billion. Geo Group's debt is $2.4 billion. And fewer banks are helping to turn, and they have fewer and fewer banks to turn to for help financing loans and bonds now that JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, SunTrust, Bank of America, Fifth Third Bank, and BNP Paribas have all now committed to stop loaning money or raising funds for profit prisons and migrant detention facilities. Because both Core Civic and Geo are structured as real estate investment trusts, they must constantly raise capital from the debt and equity markets to expand, and they rely heavily on the banks to do so. The shift away from financing for-profit prisons is therefore significantly expected to impact Core Civic and Geo Group's ability to expand their operations, jeopardizing their dividends and share price, and ultimately threatening their financial viability. Over the past 2 years, while the S&P 500 has risen more than 22%, Core Civic stock has plummeted 34%, while Geo's has plummeted nearly 36%. This means the companies have underperformed the market for the past 2 years by nearly 60%, 60. That's not great. And now with Core Civic and Geo Group are facing a congressional investigation, which led their stock prices to drop again on Thursday. Core Civic's dropping 6%, Geo's dropping 7%. We've also recently learned that Geo Group is playing an additional role in the migrant abuse crisis by providing some of the transport for Homestead, the first for-profit migrant detention facility where the U.S. has separated children and continuing to detain them. According to reports, I know I'm about to get cut off.
Ma'am, your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Dan. Mr. Hutchinson, you on a different subject.
I'm, well, same subject, different side.
Okay.
Dane Hutchings, representing the League of California Cities. And I say that, of course, with respect to the folks who have expressed a strong desire for specific divestment. For the League of California Cities, we have been on record in strong support of allowing your investment team to continue to invest in whatever makes the maximum amount of return to ensure that we have sustainable and retirement benefits for our retirees. Cities, more than any other public entity, are going to be hit harder and faster, primarily because of the rising unfunded liabilities that have continued to accrue and substandard investment returns. This is a significant challenge, and so when we talk about whatever the issue is with regards to divesting from X, Y, or Z, we look at the other side of the coin that says, what are we going to do when we have to reduce pensions for retirees? We have done that. We have seen this happen before. where you've seen a large number of retirees get their benefits reduced by 60, 70, almost 100% in some agencies, where they are absolutely devastated. And so from a holistic standpoint, and again, we need to look at this from a holistic standpoint. We cannot pick and choose. We cannot kick the investment team for not meeting their returns while at the same time continuing to take tools off the table so they can maximize their investment returns. So it is the League of California Cities' position to have a hard line against divestment. With regards to specifically to private prisons, I would simply say that there is a bill that is moving through that would ban the ability for private prisons to exist, and if that happens, that's great, but you can't put us in a situation where we won't be able to invest and maximize our investment returns. So with that, I'll cede my time. Thank you.
Okay.